What's going on, YouTube? Bear here. This is Bear's Mix. Welcome to my channel. It's been a little bit since I put an update out about Western Flyer Express and what's been going on recently. I don't have any updates as of yet about the lawsuit. I spoke to the attorney handling it recently. They're still waiting for hearing dates, and that could take a little while yet. Could take a couple more months, could take a couple more years, who knows. But as you can tell from the background, I am not in the tractor trailer right now. And in fact, I am no longer working for Western Flyer Express. I'm going to get into all that and more right after this brief introduction. Alright guys, so as you know, there's that lawsuit against Western Flyer Express, and they owe me personally quite a bit of money. Went through, did the line item accounting with the attorney, because he wanted to know exactly how much they owe me, and exactly for what, and what the breakdown was. When it was totaled out, we come to realize that they owe me just under $25,000. I'm done. I didn't realize they were that much in the hole to me. Excuse me. I put in my 2-week notice. And it was pretty much, park the truck, we don't need you anymore. Fine. No problem. No big deal. Kind of pushed my move real fast from Las Vegas to Anchorage. And yes, here in the background, over here on this side rather, that is the Anchorage, Alaska skyline. There's a Chugach mountain range up on top. Beautiful, beautiful mountain range. Just a little chilly right now to be moving out in the middle of winter. Got to my house, I had about 22 inches of snow on the deck that I had to clear off before I can even get into the house. I came up in July, preparing for the move, looked at a couple houses, ended up renting the one that I'm in currently. It's a 2-bedroom, 1,025 square foot home. I came up in the beginning of November and furnished it, expecting to be moving up in January. I wanted to give them Western Flyer Express at least to the end of the year, primarily to make it easier on myself when I do my taxes at the end of the year, so I only have one company to deal with. Now I've got 2 companies I got to deal with on my taxes, which drives it up a little bit. One's going to be a W-2, and all of Western Flyer Express is going to be 1099. Mixing the 2 of them is kind of a pain in the neck. But I do have a job up here. I am driving for the U.S. Post Office. Got a day off today. I'm not really liking the schedule. I work every other day. For the first week, I worked every single day. I had just over 70 hours in for the first week. Now this week I'll end up with like 40 hours. Plus I will be working Christmas Day. That's right. I'm working Christmas Day. That's this Saturday coming up. Today is the 22nd. So I work Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Yeah, I have like Sunday, Monday off together, and then every other day. Then next week I will have, I believe, it switches every week. It rotates between me and another driver. It's not a bad gig. It's $34 an hour and changes for the first 40 hours with double time, time and a half for after 40 hours and overtime. On weekends, there's an additional $5 shift differential for the weekends. Holidays, I get all paid. I get all federal holidays paid whether I work or not. So if I work, I get 8 hours of holiday pay on top of my regular pay, or I can take the day off and get 8 hours of straight pay as well. Full medical, dental, vision, critical illness, which does cover COVID, injury, death, dismemberment, all those insurance policies I get. Plus I'm back into a 401k, so I can start setting up. I gotta get my 401k built back up. Took a major hit in the 2008 thanks to the Obama administration when he destroyed the stock market. I lost everything that was in my 401k and my IRAs. Um, I had over $350,000 in my 401k and my IRA that I've been paying to over years with different companies I've worked for that have had 401ks, and I've just rolled them over to IRAs. I plan on rolling that all over into a QRP, or qualified retirement plan, which I'll get more into that. I'm going to talk about that on my channel on tax lien investing. Setting up a new channel on tax lien investing, tax lien certificates. I know I talked briefly on this channel about it, but I'm going to move that over to its own channel. Oh, excuse me. So we got a lot of different stuff going on here. Anyways, yeah, when I come to the realization how much money exactly they owed me, I am done with Western Flyer Express. Things have been getting more and more difficult. They owe me for over 77 hours of detention. Haven't gotten detention pay but on one load all year. Now they withheld my last paycheck, which really hurt me. I got up here, I had about $300 left in the bank account after moving everything I needed to put into storage, shipping the essential stuff up here. Ended up doing it by UPS, a way I didn't want to do it. But I got all my office equipment up here. I got my studio equipment up here. Right now I'm running off my laptop. I haven't set my desktop up yet. I need to get a computer desk to do that. But I've got all my lighting, my green screen, my mic, everything set up here running off of my laptop. Sounds like there's a little bit of an echo. I can hear it here in my monitor. So I'm sitting in the living room right now, but once I get the office room set up, I will be putting in sound dampening foam in the room, which is going to be a lot smaller room than this, so it'll be more of an echo in the voice. So I'm going to be working to clear that up for you guys, give you guys better quality video, better quality audio than you're used to, especially now that I'm using an actual camera and not my cell phone to record. What else was going on? In the front, as far as the freight brokerage goes, my viability rating, I think I mentioned it before, I was waiting for it to get from a 3 to a 2 so I can go ahead and get the insurance, those 3 military contracts required. And I got surprised. I jumped from a 3 all the way down to a 1 just last month when I got that email from Dun & Bradstreet, my monthly update, which really surprised me. In less than a year, I went from an 8 to a 1. Best score you can have on your viability rating. They're saying that they recommend that lenders offer me no more than $450,000 in business credit, which I am tempted to take up on that, but I don't want to do that just yet because, you know, I mean, I'm still building the business. I don't have any business income coming in yet on the freight brokerage, so I don't want to use that. As much as I would love to take that to really help jumpstart the freight brokerage, I'm not taking that risk right now. As far as my personal credit goes, that's, as you guys know, that's in the crapper. The ID thefts came after me again. I finally got my score up to 715. I was excited. Now it's down to a 595 again because they came in and attacked my credit again, trying to buy a car and buy a vehicle, and it was a bunch of credit applications run. It's a mess, y'all. It is a mess. I think I might have talked about it briefly in the last video. As far as the homestead goes, later on this week, I will be starting some seedlings. Here is December. So I'm going to start planting some garlic and different hot peppers here inside. I'm going to start growing them indoors. And then in the spring, I'll be able to transfer them to planters outside. I just want to get them kicked off, get a good grow going on them, get them a head start. It's about the time of the year you want to start planting them, December, January, getting ready. I will be taking the garlic and converting it into black garlic. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with black garlic. It's got a nice, rich umami flavor to it. It's a game changer, y'all. If you like garlic, you're going to love black garlic. If you see it in the store, on the supermarket shelves, the crushed black garlic, grab a jar of it, try it. You're just not going to use as much of it as you do regular garlic. You want to use about half of it. If you're using a recipe that calls for garlic and calls for a teaspoon of garlic, use half a teaspoon. Maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. It's real rich, strong garlic. It's, oh. Anyways, I'm going to be dealing with that. Uh, there's some stuff I'm planning on doing for the homestead. I'm going to start growing microgreens. Just waiting for the grow lights to come in so I can start the microgreens. And I think my heat just kicked in. I'm getting a lot of feedback here in the mic. Please forgive the rattling noise. That's the blower on my furnace. A little bit loud, isn't it? Kind of echoes. That's why I got to get the other room set up with the sound dampening foam on the walls so that we don't hear all this ambient noise. I do apologize. I'm going to be setting up and getting ready to start doing the fermented hot peppers. So I want to get the hot peppers growing. I want to get the F1 chili peppers growing, and a few other peppers. I got a hot jalapeno pepper that's actually purple. I'm going to be growing. I'm going to be making a limited edition or limited run purple hot sauce with that. See how that comes out. All my hot sauces are going to be fermented so that I don't need any special licensing or anything to sell them. I'm going to be doing, getting back into doing charcuterie. I know, funny word, right? Sounds like a sex act. There's that heater kicking in now. I can really hear it in the monitor. It's 3 degrees outside, but give me a second. I'm going to shut the heat off. I'll be right back, guys.
I am enjoying this scene.
Get on with it!
Alright, guys, sorry. Apparently, oh, okay, there. Quieted down a little bit. Guess it takes a couple seconds for the fan to power down once you shut the heat off. Anyways, what was I saying now? I done forgot. Oh, we'll just move forward, I guess. I'm setting up to start doing that. Oh, charcuterie. I was starting to talk about charcuterie. I know, it's a funny word. It kind of sounds like a sex act. It's not. It's the art. It's a French word. It's basically the art of dry aging raw meat and making it safe to eat. You guys eat charcuterie all the time, and you may not know it. Pepperoni is a form of charcuterie. Salami, capicola, a lot of different meats that you eat, lunch meats and stuff, are forms of charcuterie. So I'm going to start doing that stuff. Part of that involves fermenting the meat. It's fermenting, but at the same time it's not fermenting. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm going to start getting into that. It's kind of scientific and the stuff you have to do there. I should say start getting back into doing that. I'm going to be getting back into doing different cheeses. Excuse me. Things I can do to raise a little extra capital while I'm getting things rolling. On the front of the freight brokerage, I do have the 3 shippers I talked to earlier this year. They said they want to wait until I was at least a year old before they'll sign a contract with me. That's what I'm running into with a lot of shippers. They won't deal with a broker that's less than a year old, so I will have to get that done later on. Excuse me. December 27th, the business will be a year old. So in January, first week of January, I'm going to start pushing out, trying to get this stuff signed up, start getting some money coming in. Now on the 3 military contracts, they have specific insurance that I have to carry, that they want me to carry on top of regular insurance. That's going to cost me $6,500 a year just to get that up and running. At least the TMS company has dropped the cost of setting up the EDI from $2,500 a customer to $1,500 a customer, so it's going to save me $1,000 right there on each one of them. Once I get the $6,500 paid and get that initial insurance policy bound and in place, I'll pay the $1,500, get the first one. I'm going to go with the larger of the 3 contracts for the government, military contracts, so I can start working at stuff there, start getting those loads out. Each of the 3 of them are guaranteeing me a minimum of 10 loads a day, 6 days a week. So I'm looking at 180 loads between the 3 of them and a 5-year, $10 million contract. Once it's signed, I've still got plenty of time to sign them, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just setting the money aside to get the initial insurance payment made and get the EDI set up so I can start actually making some money. Some of the stuff I'm seeing out there that's really aggravating me is all these so-called independent dispatchers that are acting like brokers. They are misusing the bona fide carrier agent clause. that says you can be an independent dispatcher for one carrier and one carrier only. They are using these, well, I'm only using this carrier's MC number for this, and I'm using this carrier's MC number over here for this, and I'm using this guy's MC number over there. No, it don't work that way. To do that, you must have a broker's authority. The FMCSA considers these independent dispatchers a danger and a threat to the trucking industry. They're starting to crack down on them. It's a $10,000 fine for each one of them, for each one of the carriers that they're working for, and each one of the shippers that are using them. So it gets very expensive, and they'll get blackballed, so they can't get their broker authority ever. These shippers need to stop signing these guys up. A lot of them aren't telling the shippers that they are independent dispatchers. They're not insured, they're not licensed, they're not authorized, nothing. If something happens, they say, well, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't work for you. And yeah, it's a mess. If something major happens, like that kid that went down the Eisenhower there and killed those people in a fiery truck wreck, the broker in that, if he was a independent dispatcher, I don't know what you're talking about, I didn't dispatch him on that load. They just walk away from it, which is wrong. And it's because of those guys that more and more shippers are wanting brokers to have the same insurance coverage that carriers have. They want us to have contingent cargo insurance. We don't need contingent cargo insurance. We are isolated from them. But these liberal courts are starting to rule more and more against the brokers, even though we are insulated. We are intermediaries. We have nothing to do with what the shipper does, or not, rather what the carrier does. Although we're responsible for making sure we are hiring carriers that are safe, responsible. We vet them, we check them out, we make sure that they have everything that they're required to have. I don't know. And you got to be careful too when you're vetting companies. There's a broker, I believe she was out at Dallas. She just lost everything. She hired a hotshot company to move a couple of loads. They moved them down to the Mexican border. She got the signed pods from them. She paid them through factoring right away, as they agreed to. Then a couple days later, she started getting calls. Where's the load at? Where's the load? Where's the load? We don't have the load. Where's that? Can you find out what's going on with the load? She's like, no, my load delivered. I got the pod here. No, I don't know what you're talking about. We never received that load. Well, come find out. So she tried calling them. They laughed at her, hung up on her. Changed the phone number. They disconnected the phone number, whoever it was. So she went through, ran the MC number and everything, got the main company's phone number up, and I believe it was Ohio. Called the main company up, the headquarters up there, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't do hotshot, and we only work the tri-state area. We don't do anything outside of this area. We're a courier service, not a hotshot service. All we have are vans that run packages. That's it. Little small city vans, minivans and whatnot. So what these guys did is they copied this company's information, changed the address and the phone number and banking information on it, sent it to her as if it was their authority and their company, and she hired them, not knowing that, well, these guys are scam artists. They stole the load, they stole the pay. Now she's on the hook for the load, the pay. Her insurance pulled out on her. She had 3 claims above the $75,000 coverage that she had. So she's done. She lost everything because of it. So you got to be really, really careful. The scams are getting more and more complex, harder to detect, and they're spreading wider and farther, thanks to the current administration and the administration before last. When times are tough, there's economic hardship, people get desperate and they do stupid things. They do whatever they can to survive. In a way, I can't blame them, but at the same time, I can't like them either. So, it'll be a couple more weeks before I finally get the brokerage fully up and running, and I can't wait. Now, some of the other stuff I have planned here, I may have mentioned in another video before, I don't remember. I used to have my private detective's license. I'm going to get my private detective license up here in Anchorage. And I was surprised it's so much easier to get your private detective's license in Alaska than it was in Rhode Island. I had to go through a background check. I had to have go to a hearing before the Public Safety Board to get approval. And there you have to either be retired law enforcement, have a criminal justice degree, or have schooling in private investigations that cover specific topics which are covered under the criminal justice. Well, I've got all three. I'm a former military police officer, check. I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, check. And I did, well, it was a correspondence course, but still it was a course introducing me to private investigations. I got that done. When I went to my hearing there in Providence, and of course I had to post a $50,000 surety bond with the city as well for my license. In Rhode Island, your private detective's license isn't issued by the state, it's issued by the city or the town where you live or have your office at. Went to the hearing. Now, there was one guy that pulled up. They called up before me. There was a bunch of different hearing things they were hearing on in the city of Providence. There was stuff to do with nightclubs, petitions. I mean, anything to do with businesses and things that they would consider fall under the category of health and safety. They called one guy up. Apparently, it was his fourth time applying for his private detective's license. They call this guy. Yeah, what? How do you, what? You're before a professional board. You're there to get your business license. You're supposed to act as you're supposed to be a professional. This guy's got on flip-flops, Bermuda shorts, and a wife beater. Sitting in a seat. Yeah, what? What? Well, he apparently had a bad attitude. They started a little hearing thing, reviewing his record and his information. And one of the council members said, yeah, this is your fifth time applying for your private detective's license. Yep. Okay, do you have anything you want to say? Nope, just give me my license. Well, they went through everything, they had their vote, and of course he was shot down again unanimously. They called another guy up for his private detective's license. He's, yes, I'm right here, sitting in the back of the row. Don't make himself visible, just put his hands up. And you can see the members rolling their eyes in their heads. This is your third time? Yep. Well, we're going to deny you again. Wow. They call my name up. I stand up, present. I walk forward. I sit down at the front table, right in front of them in plain view. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to hear my application. I look forward to answering any questions you might have. I have here with me a copy of all my certifications, this, that, and the other thing. They asked me a couple minor questions. They leaned over to the officer from the Providence Police Department that handles the backgrounds from the licensing division. Do you have any objections? The officer John says, not at this time, and in fact, gave my last name. I'm not giving my real name out on it. Yeah, I am. Why not? I've told you guys before on the recruiting. So he says, yeah, we have no, Providence Police have no objection to Mr. Parsons obtaining his license, and in fact, he's highly recommended. Which kind of surprised me. Like, okay, thank you for that. They asked me a couple more questions. They had a vote. I got my license. They voted unanimously and to approve my license, and the chairman was, okay, sir, step out to the hall there in about 15 minutes. You'll be able to go into the clerk's office and pick up your license. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate your trust in me. Have a good day. I got up and walked out. I had the guys walk up to me out in the hallway. Dude, how many times did you apply? Well, it was my first time. What the hell, man? I've been doing this for months. Why can't I get my license? I'm like, well, dude, look at the way you're dressed. Look at your attitude. You don't portray confidence. You don't portray professionalism. You look like an asshat. You look like a total tool there. Look at the way you're dressed. A wife beater and flip-flops? Come on. Yes, sir. Yeah. Throwing your hand up. You kind of an attitude with them. I mean, I can understand you having a little bit of an attitude, being 5 or 6 times now trying to get your license and getting shut down. But this is why. Look at yourself. I don't know if they reapplied. I don't know what happened with those guys. But see, I got my license. I specialized in, I have certifications in accident investigations and reconstruction. I was doing a specialized area called family reunification. That's where there's a divorce, or there's a couple, they have a child but they're not together, or they separate, and one has custody, the other doesn't, and say the father kidnaps the kid from the mother. Yes, it's his own son, it's his own child, but the court says you can't have custody of them. The mother gets custody of them, but you can visit them, or even you can't visit them for whatever reason. If it's an unfit, somebody we consider an unfit parent, like a drug addict or a child molester or a rapist, something like that, and they kidnap the kid and take off with them anyways. I would go track them down, find that parent that abducted the child. I will find the child. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of legwork that goes into it. It's very involved. It's very expensive. I was involved in an international case back in early 2000s that did not end well. And there's the furnace again, and I shut the heat off. Wow. It did not end well. The tracked the child down. They'd actually fled to Durban, South Africa. I caught wind that they were back up in the Boston area visiting somebody for a death in the family. Tracked them down, watched them, seen the mother, seen the child. Got right on the phone with the grandparents on the father's side. The father had passed away in a car accident. He had custody of the child at that point. The mother was a drug addict. A lot of problems with her. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but she was deemed to be an unfit mother. They split up. The father had custody. Then a little while later, he died in a car accident, and custody went to his parents. Well, she snuck in one day and basically kidnapped or stole the child from the grandparents on the father's side, who had legal custody of the baby. She went through some medical professionals and doctors in the Boston area, very influential, very rich people, that helped smuggle them out of the country. Got her back home to where she was from, Durban, South Africa. And she was basically untouchable down there. They couldn't get the African government involved in it. They refused to. The child's here now. The child's part African, so the child stays here. The mother is African. She don't have a U.S. passport. Blah blah blah. Whatever it was. A lot involved in it. A big mess. Well, we found out she was up here for a funeral. Got eyes on her. Got a hold of the grandparents. Hey, you need to get to Boston right away. I'm looking at the baby right now. Can you go get the kid? Can you go get the kid? I did have their power of attorney to secure the child from them. This has been working its way through the courts for a long time. The mother went down to Africa and got a African court order giving her custody of the kid. So it was a real messy situation. The U.S. being the first one issued obviously took precedence. We ended up with the State Department involved in it. We had the FBI involved in it. We had the Massachusetts State Police involved in it. Boston Police Department involved in it. It was a big, huge mess. Watched her, tracked her, kept their eyes on her the whole time she was there. Was finally able to meet up with the Boston Police and the FBI, went over all the paperwork and everything, and they verified that there was a warrant out for her arrest for custodial interference and child abduction, unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. She had a bunch of charges pending against her related to the kidnapping, and then she had a bunch of charges prior to that she had to answer for, narcotics related charges. Swooped in, we arrested her, we took custody of the kid. The kid, while we're waiting for the grandparents to come up, the baby ended up going to, when she was abducted, she was 4, she was 7 years old at this point. She ended up going into the Massachusetts foster system. The mother made bail, made an application for the court to get custody of the kid, or temporary custody of the kid, and the court said, well, because she's the closest living relative, the baby goes back to her until this is sorted out. And ended up with her murdering the baby and taking her own life. Very sad story. A few years in the making, and I mean, it's a very tough situation and something like that. And dealing with family reunification is a very difficult and specialized investigation area. Sometimes the child is taken from the unfit parent by a fit parent. things the courts don't always know. The courts don't always rule in the best interest of the child. Um, there's times when the child was better off with the abductor than they were with their custodial, but that's not for me to say or judge. The courts made that decision. That's what we have to go by. I also work in areas of missing heirs. I work with the probate court. If there's somebody that passed away and there's no will or no known relatives, and their property just sits in probate for a certain amount of time, and then the probate will liquidate it, and that money will be forfeited to the state. I come in, I track down. If I go through the records, find somebody that passed away with no known heirs or no known relatives, and I can track down the nearest living relative and I'll contact them. And a lot of times, especially with all the scams going on, they would think that it was a scammer calling them or reaching out to them. Basically, it would go something like this. Hello, Mr. Cannon. My name is Mark Parsons. I'm a private detective up here working to locate missing heirs. Are you aware of a relative by the name of James Eos? Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but about 3 years ago, Mr. Eos passed away. And I see here you're a relative, like a third cousin or something. Well, yeah, I haven't heard that name in forever. I didn't know he died. What's going on? What do you want? Well, he has some property or some bank accounts or this or that that is sitting in probate right now, and we're trying to locate the nearest relative, and from what I can tell, that is you. I would like to represent you and move forward to secure this inheritance for you. It's not going to cost you anything up front. I don't charge a fee to you or anything. The fee will be based on 10% of whatever we recover from you. I'll send you over the contract, sign the contract, get it back to me, and we can move forward from there. You don't want to tell me exact court or even the state that it's going on at. I mean, they can figure it out if they're smart. I mean, they can look at your phone and they know where you're calling from, and they can get a pretty good idea. And someone might call the court themselves. They'll think it's a scam. They'll hang up on you. I've been cursed out. I've even had the police called on me a couple of times. I had to explain to them, look, here's the paperwork. I'm a private detective. This is a legitimate investigation. And then they tell the people, yeah, it turns out this is legitimate. He's trying to contact an heir so you guys can secure your inheritance, and apparently you didn't know about it. Some of them will still go through it with you. Some of them won't. They'll do it on their own, which it's fine. But that's how I make my money, is I get 10% of whatever they earn on the inheritance, which is not much at all. I mean, I think on $1 million inheritance, I can make 100 grand. So not too shabby. Not that those come around often. Most people with millionaire relatives know when they kick the bucket because they're greedy, selfish, ignorant bastards that line up just waiting for somebody to kick the bucket, saying, what am I getting? What am I getting? What am I getting? What am I getting? I see it all the time. I hate that is human nature. I don't want to insult anybody or any of my followers or any of my viewers, but that's the reality of it. I'm sorry. And a couple other areas I cover are secured collateral recovery, which basically I'm the repo man. I'm the one that comes in the middle of the night and takes your car when you don't make your payments or you drop your insurance. A huge percentage of the repossessions I do are not because the individual was late or missed a payment, but because they dropped their insurance. They'll go get the full coverage insurance that they're required to have. Then to save a little money, they'll reduce, once they get the car, they'll reduce it to whatever the state minimums are, and they'll take that coverage, the rest of the coverage off that's required under their contract. Well, they're now in breach of contract, and the vehicle is able to be repossessed. Yeah, those get messy. I get people arguing with them. I made my payment. Here's the receipt. Do you have full coverage insurance? What's that got to do with anything? Well, that's why it's being repossessed, because you dropped your insurance or your insurance lapsed. And well, you can't take it for that. Well, actually, yes, I can. It's in your contract. You're in breach of your contract. Another area I work is bail enforcement and fugitive recovery. which is pretty self-explanatory. Somebody gets arrested for a crime. It's not up to me to decide their guilt or innocence. That's up to the courts. They're innocent until proven guilty. They're released on bail, and they miss the court date, or they violate conditions of their bail. Could be no contact with an individual, stay away from a certain area, you have to be at home every night at a certain time, you can't go to bars, you can't drink, obviously can't do drugs. Sometimes the bondsman had me show up unannounced for a urine test or drug test to make sure that they aren't using, and if they are, revoke the bond, arrest them, throw them back. Well, not arrest. You're not arresting. You're enforcing a contract. You're enforcing the bail bond conditions. Taking them into custody and trying to bring them back to the jail, and they go back through the court system. The bond's revoked, and usually new conditions or terms are put on their bond, and they're released on a higher bond because now they're a flight risk. Or if they take off, they miss court altogether and just take off, go out of state, go to another city, they're trying to hide, they're a fugitive, I'll apprehend them and return them to the jurisdiction of record. Don't matter where they are in the country, there's federal court rulings, there's a couple federal court cases, there's case law on it that says that, in Taylor versus Tainter, 18 Wall 366, basically says when a surety is released, or when an individual is released to the custody of a surety, I forget exactly how it goes, I haven't cited this in a long time, but basically it says that the bail bondsman is the jailer. You're choosing who you want to be in jail with, the sheriff or the bail bondsman, and the bail bondsman at any time for any reason may decide that, well, I don't trust you anymore, or something's changed, you've picked up a new charge, you're a person of interest in a new crime or something. I'm not risking my money, and I'm not risking the public safety, you being out there and doing something stupid. So I'm going to snatch you up, I'm going to seize you up and deliver you in my discharge. In other words, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to take you to the jail, turn you over to the sheriff, and discharge my duties as your jailer. And I'm being released from the bond. It also goes to say, may pursue across state lines. In other words, I can go into another state, pick you up, and bring you back without having to go through extradition proceedings, without any new warrants. It says, I may break and enter your residence for the purpose of apprehending you. Now, that's a fine line right there. You have to know 100% with certainty that the individual is in that house before you force entry, but you need to make all reasonable attempts to get somebody to let you in. You don't want to just run up to a house and kick the door in right away. Could be the person already went out the back door, you might have seen them there, a vehicle go by, a delivery truck park in front of you, or lose your view for a couple minutes, and that person could have come out, gotten to another vehicle, and left, and you not know it. You have to know 100% for a fact that the individual is in that residence, and you must come out with him in handcuffs. If you go in and search the house and you don't find him and you're forced entry, now you're guilty of a crime. Now you're guilty of armed home invasion, breaking and entering, whatever you want to call it. It's a gray area you have to be very careful of. And at the law, the court, Taylor versus Tainter goes on to say, this is not done by virtue of new process. None is needed. It is likened to the rearrest by the sheriff of an escaping prisoner. When you jump bond, you're escaping custody. I'm your sheriff. Or the bail bondsman rather, is the sheriff. He's your jailer. He's responsible for you. And if you escape his jail, he's got to come find you and bring you back. Well, in this case, your bail bondsman is your jailer. He's your jail. You don't show up in court, you cut off your ankle monitor, your GPS monitor, what have you, and run away. Well, now the bail bondsman's got to find you and bring you back. He's responsible for you. I don't know, I can probably explain that a little bit better, but I'm just trying to cover all my bases here. But those were the main areas I covered in my investigations. Bail enforcement, collateral recovery, missing heirs, family reunification, accident investigations. I did some background checks. I tried to stay away from the matrimonial stuff, the cheating spouse. That gets messy, and often you end up not getting paid for your work. They get mad that you found what they wanted, and now they don't want to pay you for it. It's a pain in the neck. So I'm getting that out here now in Alaska. It's $100 for a 2-year license. Down there, it was, I believe I paid $150 for my initial license, and then $100 every year to renew it, plus the $50,000 surety bond. I had to go through a lot to get my license there. Here, you apply, it takes a couple weeks, do a little fingerprint background check, and unlike Rhode Island, what surprised me up here is a felon can get their private detective's license. As long as it's been more than 10 years since their conviction and the end of their sentence, whether it was prison time, probation, parole, whatever, or I believe it was 2 years for misdemeanor, 5 years for certain misdemeanors like drug offenses and domestic violence. Wow. But yeah, it's fairly easy to get your license out here, and I will be getting my private detective's license out here. Give me a little extra money so I can do like not family reunification, rather I can start working the missing air cases again. Well, I think I'm going to cut it there, guys. I just want to jump in here and give you a little update. I got to get to sleep here in a little while. It's 9 o'clock at night, still light out. I got to be up at 1 a.m. to get ready for work. So I think I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to piece this video together real quick and get it uploaded to you guys. I know it's been a while since I've something uploaded. But I just wanted to jump in here, touch base with you guys, let you know where we stand, what's going on. Yeah, I'm no longer with Western Flyer Express, and still pissed at them for withholding my last paycheck, which was about $2,200. And I'm not going to see that. They're not going to pay that to me. I know they're not. I've already filed a complaint with the Labor Board. I don't know if Oklahoma Labor Board will do anything about it, considering that I am not an employee of Western Flyer Express, but a contractor. But yeah, I guess that's it for now. I'll be able to bring more content to you guys more regularly, especially once I get the office set up. It'll be a lot easier to build content for you guys. I have more time to do it. I have a good, strong, solid, reliable internet connection here, so I'm not going to have the problems I was having before with trying to upload videos on the road through a Wi-Fi hotspot. My laptop and my desktop will be connected by network cable, not Wi-Fi. I've got my Wi-Fi radio shut off on my router. Everything is going through hard lines. It's a little more secure. Okay, it's a lot more secure. And I won't have the issues that I have with Wi-Fi, with weak signals, spotty signal, intermittent signals, what have you. All right, guys, that's it for now. Please, if you find anything in these videos, at least a little bit entertaining, if not informational or instructive or educational, please make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, and don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really helps out with the channel. It helps the channel out, it helps me out, and in turn it helps you out, because it allows me to, once the channel monetizes, especially to purchase more better equipment for recording videos for you guys. Anything I make on this channel, when I monetize, I think I said last video, I was at the point where I could monetize. I wanted to wait a couple days to do it, which was a mistake. Because some of the watch time from last year is now starting to fall off. So I'm under 4,000 hours of watch time right now. I'm back down to around 3,000 hours of watch time. So I've lost a lot of my watch time from last year. So I've lost my eligibility to monetize. If I'd already monetized, I'd be good to go. But hey, I got to get back over to 4,000 hours of watch time to monetize the channel. Next time, I'm just jumping on it and getting it done. Alright, guys. Yeah. As always, keep it between the ditches, keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down. I'll see you out there on the highway, and go Army, beat Navy.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.